December 13th. You're having it down here? We have our holiday party there.
So I'm having, yeah, we're all right.
Which is more important?
I think so. Yeah, these guys.
Don't tell me the things.
No, here's my game plan.
Because now I'm going to go plan B.
I have an executive session scheduled with the Knuckleheads on D3 and D17.
Okay, I'm going to ask Commissioner Salanitro, who's representing the town of Rye today. Would you lead us?
With pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indeed.
Different concept.
Yeah. Sit down there.
Pencils are good for us everywhere you look.
All right. Okay, can I get a motion to bring this meeting to order?
Okay.
So moved.
All right, we have Commissioner Sack is absent, Commissioner Salanitro.
Here.
Commissioner Feinstein.
Here.
Commissioner Pilla.
Here.
Commissioner French had notified us that he's going to be late, but may not show at all. We're not sure. And
Is that a Christmas party?
Commissioner Carvin.
Couple weeks.
I don't know what that is.
It's interesting, wasn't it?
Okay, but we do have a quorum.
Beautiful. Okay, comments on the minutes of the October 16th meeting. Can I get them? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Let me read them. We just got,
Oh, sorry, exactly. I
that? Yeah.
apologize. Yes.
Can I just read them
Yes,
quickly?
take your time, please. Fred Gioffre guaranteed a profit this year, and he reimbursed anything that didn't happen. Where's Mr. Gioffre?
Mr. Gioffre is on vacation in Florida.
Oh, good for him.
He heard there was a hurricane coming and decided going south was better. All right. So this is the Rye Town Park Commission
Hey,
meeting.
can we make sure that we get the? Can we see if we can't get sustainable playland and our committee at the next Rye Town Park meeting?
Sustainable playland?
Well, I'd like to actually. We should get a report from our Christina Bircher's group.
Okay. Right.
Can we see if we can get that up for the December meeting?
Okay.
I got an email from her. They were away. And,
Okay.
no, they actually were supposed to have a meeting the day of the storm.
Oh, okay.
So they had to reschedule.
Perfect.
It's fine.
Are we done with the minutes, Mayor Feinstein?
Yeah, now we are.
Make a motion to approve?
And I'll second that.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Salanitro.
Yes.
Commissioner Feinstein.
Yes.
Commissioner Pilla.
Yes.
And Commissioner Carvin.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So look, there's been a lot of talk about Hurricane Sandy. Oh, hold on. You want? I think we've. Let me go with comments from the public. I know.
No.
Gold.
Now, don't you want to do hurricane?
You want to do Hurricane Sandy first?
Yeah.
You want to do public comment?
Yeah, I gotta go ahead and public comments
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Hurricane Goldie, please.
No. I'm the calm person. Okay. I love Oakland Beach, and I'm so glad that you run it, because when you run it, we don't know what's going to happen if other people run it, but we know what's going to happen here, and it's good. It's good. Let me tell you.
Thank you, Goldie.
It's good that you allow people from Portchester to come, because we have no place to go. And this is the most wonderful place for the children on the beach. And I love the concerts. And I wish you had more concerts. That's all, because I love the concerts. I love to try to help. If they need help, I'm always there to try to help. But we need a lot of concerts, and it's a wonderful place. And thank God it's on the Historic Register, because that's where it belongs. Okay? So, please, God, Sandy, I'm not happy with Sandy. And I hope we don't have any more hurricanes that will destroy things. And we can't destroy Oakland Beach or Playland or any of that waterfront, which we need so desperately. And that's all. I just want you to take into consideration that we do need more music. Music is key. Without music, we're dead.
Thank you so much, Goldie. Thank you for the kind words. I think we're already working on more concerts for next year. Next year, we took on board your comments from last meeting, so we're working.
You know, the dog is still there.
Well, we're one step at a time. We'll get so we got more concerts. Anybody else from the public? Okay, great. Do we have a slideshow, Mr. Nowotnik?
Sort of. We have
Took a lot of photos. I know that.
Yeah, we have two issues, and the two issues really are that Frank DeLeo is on vacation, somewhat well-deserved. He was putting in quite a bit of time over the last couple of weeks. So he did provide a report. His report is comprehensive. This body can ignore the Crawford Park stuff unless you're really interested, but we open up with Rydetown Park. Total of 10 trees fell in the park. One of those actually fell right across Forest Avenue, took out power lines, took out a pole, just missed the house on the corner. We got Bartlett Tree Service in and Zika Tree Service to clean up the park. And basically they've completed it. Zika still has some work in terms of there are some logs, large logs there that have to be removed, but all the brush is gone, all the trees are gone, all the branches are gone. A lot of the stuff was chipped up so that we can keep the chips on site and disperse them throughout the various gardens. We thought it was going to be finished on Friday. It's not. We suffered a tremendous damage on the beach. The first aid building, for example, the water actually overran a large part of the building, overran the seawall in the middle of the beach area, and the first aid station actually has two doors on it. Well, it blew out the under door, if you will, and literally deposited about 3-4 feet of sand in the building and wrecked virtually everything that's inside. We've had our staff cleaned it out, basically boarded it up for the next storm. The beach itself, we may have a couple of pictures here, I hope, that have show the sand level has been displaced to a tune of like 8 to 9 feet. If you're familiar with the arches that are on the beach, those are approximately 7 to 8 feet tall. Our bathroom tunnels are just over 9 feet tall. We are coming very close to the top in terms of the level of the sand. So the beach was pushed back into the seawall substantially. We don't know how much sand we lost. We haven't been able to figure that out yet. We would have to re-engineer the beach before the season starts. The beach snack bar was totally overrun. They wound up with about 5-6 feet of sand and water throughout the entire basement of the restaurant. All of Seaside Johnny's, what I call support equipment, is down there. So, for example, for bar goers, the taps were downstairs, the kegs were downstairs. A lot of the pump equipment was downstairs. All of his kitchen prep equipment and refrigerators were downstairs. Substantial losses there. Plus, we may have to have an engineer take a look at that structurally. We just don't know what happened there, but a substantial amount of sand and water got into the bottom of the restaurant. Upstairs, by the way, there was virtually no damage in the restaurant, as was told to us by Seaside Johnny's people. Again, a lot of flooding in the men's and ladies' room tunnels. Yeah, I'm going to try and do some photos here if I can. Let's see. It's our first aid building. That's the lifeguard station. Apparently lost some siding. It's up on concrete piers, so it did fairly well. I'm trying to think. I've got... This is the tree that fell across Forest Avenue right there. If you look on the left, you can see the light pole that was cracked in half. We literally just missed that house right there. That took a while to get cleaned up. And I'm trying to think. I don't have all of these things labeled properly. All right, now you can see the Seaside Johnny's. That's the snack bar there. There's only about 2 feet from the sand level to the actual top. Okay? And the windows, you can barely make out the service windows, which are, they start 3 feet from the ground. That was before his staff got there, so they had to actually dig a trench from the snack bar all the way to the water just to be able to drain the water out. There's no other effective way because, remember, we didn't have power there. Okay. Here I'm talking about the ladies' room tunnel, and if you can see, that's 9 feet to the top of that plywood, and we're right around 7 or 8 feet. Those arches there are typically right around 7.5 feet from the level of the beach, and you can just barely make out the tops of the arches. So the entire beach was displaced in that fashion.
Did you lose sand onto the parking lot?
Not to the parking lot, but we did lose sand over the boardwalk. So when you look toward the first aid station, where the wall is very relatively low, a lot of sand washed out into the grass, and in fact, the brand new roadway that we put in a nice stone dust roadway after Hurricane Irene.
Right.
It all wound up on the lawn. So that's gone.
The stone dust.
The stone dust is all gone. We had a nice job done. It was beautiful, level. The good thing is that FEMA is telling us that we would perhaps, because it's a second set of damage, we would qualify for what they call mitigation assistance, which means that we may be able to do something more than what was pre-existing in order to correct the problem and prevent it from happening again. I.e., what I'm thinking of is they may, in fact, pay for us to blacktop it. I don't know if people want to do that at Rye-Town Park, but that's a way of making sure that it doesn't really wash away. All right, here's a little bit of a different problem. We had to rope off the bathroom building. We did it on both sides. And the reason for that is that we saw there were tiles.
Seawall damage?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the seawall damage right now. I just wanted to show you the winter building corner here. So you begin to see what had happened is the wind actually lifted these tiles throughout that building, and the loose tiles are falling into the parking lot. So we had to screen it off. Those tiles, some of them, like the corner tiles, for example, they could weigh 10, 12 pounds.
The pavilion also. I was there last week. The pavilion also has.
Yes,
some tiles.
we have roof damage on almost every building except
the new roof,
the restaurant, and the new roof. The $1.4 million was spent extremely well.
Wisely.
We didn't see a single tile out of place, quite frankly, and I think L&M did a fabulous job on that. Then the more serious problem we have is this. And hang on a second, the seawall. Okay. Oops. Okay, now I'll get to that second. I'm sorry.
Use that tab. Richard, don't you have the tab on the bottom that you can go?
No. These are set up as separate files. I haven't been able to get all the
so
pictures together. We've got pictures on cell phones. We got pictures on cameras. We've been trying to put them all together so that we have them. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. We'll get right back to that thing. And the seawall is going to be a very major project. We're going to be working with the city of Rye. Wrong picture again.
Close.
I know.
Go to seawall below that.
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm going there.
There you go.
Okay. Well, you can see me standing there. This was the circle. And the entire thing collapsed. The entire thing was undermined. We have other pictures. I don't have them here. Supervisor was down there with a friend of his, what have you, and we looked at a number of those issues that were down in the park. Anyway, for those that have done FEMA work, you have to have all kinds of documentation. I probably have another 50 to 100 pictures that we're just trying to pull together.
Can you bring those in and then offer a special viewing for the public?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll have them all set up because I'm going to have to give you some sort of a FEMA report next month. Today, we were notified by Westchester County. We had to put together an instant assessment, which was due today. So we put it together. I did a very quick one, $30,000 of what we call emergency response expenses. That's the stuff like right during the storm and immediately after the storm. And then there's the repair budget, which I came in at about $1,235,000. All right, most of that money is Rytown Park. Okay, I mean, Crawford Park suffered minor damage. We had some roof damage on 2 buildings. We lost a power transformer, some power poles, and things of that nature. And we lost 40 trees, but they don't pay for trees.
Well, when we're down there, we were thinking it could be as much as $1 million.
It could be as high as $2 million. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know, for example, what that seawall will cost. But, you know, A, you don't have to rebuild that little circle carve-out. B, the other picture that I was trying to show you shows you the problem with the seawall.
Yep.
And if I think Benny already saw. You can actually see through this thing. That wall is compromised. Now, this is all the way down the end. This is down by the corner. You can see the drain pipes there. But the reality is that wall is shot. The entire wall has to be replaced.
How many feet? Do you know?
I'm going to say about 200 feet.
How old is that, just out of curiosity?
Well, part of this was done in 1992. And then we're just trying to find this out.
I'm not the only one with bulkhead problems, huh?
Yes.
Well, these are not ours. These are Rice Cities, aren't they?
Well, this is I think we're not sure, and that's one of the things we have to determine here, because back in 1992, there was a job done, and we're going to Rice City to try and find the original records for that, to see who did the engineering, who did the work, etc., and who was responsible for it. I'm not sure if Rice City wasn't partially responsible, because that's a public right-of-way, even though it's a dead-end street.
Sure.
That's, you know, do we have to repair the sidewalk? Do we have to repair the flushing that went on underneath the roadway?
Yeah.
You know. But again, the good news here is that depending on how the engineers look at this, depending on how FEMA looks at this, FEMA may be willing to pay more money to beef up the specs to, for example, you know, instead of a 100-year storm, you know, which we get every 2 years, now if a 200-year storm or a 300-year storm.
Well, let me, Commissioner Salanitro, would you would you look over the FEMA application, and you know, maybe when you have a chance, Bishop, you go through it with Commissioner Salanitro.
I can help.
Give you a background in engineering and all that. How was Portchester and Rybrook? How did you guys fare during the storm?
We had a lot of damage, power losses, trees down, but not a lot of structural damage, actually. And our seawall, while we have one that's already buckling, it wasn't further compromised, actually, which was great news as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, and we too. I mean, as we look in retrospect, we actually all fared well. And I say that obviously we don't have any water, and the irony is the area in Rybrook that normally would flood. Not only did they not flood, which is Wyman and the lower part of the village, they maintained their power. They were the only portion that had power. The very southern part of Rybrook had power, and the very northern part of Rybrook, but 80% didn't have power. We had 17 homes that sustained damage, some of them substantial damage. But at the end of the day, I know all the damage here, and this could have been worse, because if we didn't have the rain, if you had what was predicted of rain, which was going to be 5 to 6 inches of rain, in addition to the storm surge, you would have flooding. So that's number one, that we're looking as this Thanksgiving, what we're grateful for, that we didn't have rain. And the following week, the nor'easter, we all, and I'm sure Benny, you feel the same way, we will always take snow over rain. Always.
No question.
No question about that. Oh, yes. First of all, because rain, you had still wires down, blocked roads. If you had rain on top of this, and you had flooding, it would be disastrous. To have snow, which falls nicely, even though we were worried about the weight and what that would do to the trees, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. And snow evaporates and it melts slowly into the ground. because flooding is the worst thing. So looking back on it, even though 80% of Rybrook didn't have power, it could have been a lot worse. And of course, there was no loss of life or injury, and that's actually key.
Wonderful.
But it was quite an experience. It was really, I have to tell you, in all my years of being an elected official and, including my years on the school board, this was very unique. And I'm sure Benny and Dennis, yeah.
How'd you make out in the scars, though, Benny?
I'm still working at it. It was
Scars,
an
yeah.
incredible feat.
Yeah.
You're not going to fight Mother Nature. You just have to wait for her to, finish up, and then we just
Right.
go there and clean up. It's been a struggle. But I've been dealing with FEMA and things like that to get some paperwork in order. But we need to figure out a financing tool because we don't have any liquid to support advancing this money to do the repairs. Now, there's been some waivers that have come through from the DEC and the Army Corps, especially with waterfront damages, that we don't have to go through a permitting process as long as we replace what was there before. So the permits have essentially been waived. I mean, there's some tracking that we have to do. But how do we go about? Have you talked to Sam or figured out what we need to do as a commission?
Well, right now...
Where's the money coming from? We get it back.
Right now, based on the FEMA meeting that we attended last week, the problem I see is A, we're going to have expenses that are going to be far in advance of any FEMA funds coming through. So the question then becomes cash flow first. Secondly, I think a large part of FEMA is actually going to go and see what they can work out with the state. If you know, FEMA only does 75% reimbursement.
I read the state to
Right.
12.5%. Right.
Exactly. So
That is
they're going to be looking for a 90% type reimbursement, so that the commission would only be on the hook for 10% at most.
Right.
And the hope is that New York State will kick in and you could be 100% whole.
Well, that's why they did that emergency information this afternoon, because they're going to go for more than the percentage. That's why they needed that. It's just a number.
Yeah.
They're backing into a number right now.
My concern is we are looking at some large projects.
No
And,
question.
I estimated, for example, the seawall replacement at $600,000. I could be low.
Yeah. But what we need to do is our budget is fragile as it is because, obviously our numbers were very tight with the revenue and the expense.
Right.
This should be somehow separated so it doesn't have a negative influence on how we operated the beach this year, because it's bad enough that we have so much improvements that we have to fix and so forth, but we should maybe think about, and Sam may have some ways of doing this from the finance point of view, of figuring out, do we want to establish a special account, a reserve account? How do we get this work going?
Yeah.
We can't, FEMA's not going to do it. We need to do it and get the reimbursement.
Right.
It's going to probably be 8 months to a year before we see that. But somehow, I don't know if the town is on the hook for this initially. How do we do
That's
this?
actually quite a good question. How are you guys doing it in Rybrook and Portchester?
The government's different.
The government's different because, quite honestly, in this case, the municipality is going to have to
Incur it. You have to incur the cost. We don't have a reserve.
Right. Yeah, that's the difference. But the town has a reserve, and the city of Rye has the reserve. So that's a different story.
Right.
So they may have to advance that.
But we are setting up, like in the case of Portchester, a special account sort of a thing.
Sure.
Identifying it as a distinct.
Oh yeah, we already have a FEMA line item that's been established in the budget because we established that for Irene.
Right.
So we know we're going to track the expenses separately. The real problem is going to come in terms of putting up some upfront cash, and it's too bad the city of Rye doesn't have a representative here because they would be on the hook for 40%.
I don't know if that's true, though, because we're just doing a repair of something that's getting reimbursed.
But on the other hand, if it's a capital item, they still have the obligation to fund almost 50%.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's
the difficulty here is we don't have any guarantee that FEMA is going to reimburse us for anything at the moment. We have a lot of talk and a lot of promises, and until you, and Benny, until you get the blue card,
right?
Yeah.
No, but
it may not be 100%. That's the question.
Be pretty close to it.
Yeah, but this time they're talking about close. But it's a timing issue more than anything else. And you're right. In Portchester and Rybrook, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we have a fund balance.
Yeah.
Because it's just a cash flow issue. We'll take out of our fund balance, obviously, or contingency line item to be able to fund these expenses until we get reimbursed by FEMA. And it can be going to our next fiscal year.
Right.
But it's different.
Sure.
Because in this case, you may have
Right.
two municipalities,
Right.
the
Right.
town and also the city.
Sure.
Right.
Well, would you please...
And that could actually impact in some ways. I might have to speak to that. They're working on their budget
Right.
right now
Exactly.
for next year
Right.
in the city.
Well, would you be sure to...
Accounting thing at the
It
moment,
is
I
at
think.
the end.
Exactly. But would you please surely coordinate with Commissioner Salanitro in
Yep.
terms of making sure we make every
I don't know
effort
if we
to
need
get...
to, we may have to convene to act in some way to take an authorization to do something. Are there any items that are immediately pressing danger, emergency?
items.
I mean, or are these items going to wait till the spring? 'Cause that's important to know as
The
well.
only item I think that is truly dangerous is the roof of the bathroom building.
Right.
Because those tiles, there are just so many of them that
Sure.
have been lifted and loosened and,
Right.
and shifted. That's one of the reasons why we cordoned it off. We're just afraid that you can't watch that space all the time. And if people are walking by and a 12-pound tile comes down and whacks you,
Sure.
you could be hospitalized for quite some time.
So are we taking any, besides the cornering off, are we taking any other reactive measures to hire a
we've got-
contractor to put them in place? We have the ability to do that.
We've contacted L&M Roofing, who they were the contractor that did the main administration building. They have yet to get back to us with an evaluation, and I think the problem there is that the damage on that building was so extensive that they are weighing whether repairing or replacing, it may basically pay to replace it. Now, again, based on what FEMA has said in prior meetings, it is possible that FEMA may pay for the complete roof replacement. We just don't know yet. We don't have the cost.
Do we have insurance in some of these facilities as well?
Yeah,
Are we
try
self-insured?
getting the insurance adjuster down here.
I'm just suggesting is there the percentage that is not covered by state and FEMA, will our insurance company, look into picking up the difference?
Our insurance will cover us on any structural damage in the buildings. Our insurance will not cover us for trees. Our insurance will not cover us for the beach displacement.
But
But
the
our insurance
seawall?
will cover us.
How's the
for-
seawall? The seawall part of the structural?
That I don't know, because again, I'm
Okay.
questioning the
That's the
ownership.
first place to look, though.
Yeah.
Because FEMA only covers what's not covered.
I'm more than happy to help. I just, I think if there's things that need to be safeguarded beyond just, roping, and if we have to hire a contractor, we need a mechanism to say go, unless contractors are willing to do the work and wait for FEMA reimbursement. I don't know how we can do
Well,
that.
a lot of them don't, but I would appreciate
Sure.
your help, because that's an evaluation that I have not participated in.
No problem.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Nowotnik. Thanks for the hard work. Thank you, Commissioners, for sharing. Now, comments from the public. We had it earlier. Did you want to say anything? Yep. Go ahead. Yep, come on up. Yep. If you're trying to get me down there, I'm still promising to come down.
So Lisa Hanford, I live in Rye. I may have missed what you said about when the beach was, what the plan for the beach was.
Well, at the
The
moment,
beach itself, as opposed
at the moment, we don't have a plan for the beach. Our recommendation is we're trying to keep the beach closed. There are two problems there. With all that sand displacement, it has also buried a lot of debris in the sand, and we don't know what's underneath there. Obviously, some very large debris came in because we could see the damage that was done to the buildings that were on the beach. And that's one of our concerns. The other problem here is I really don't want to open the place up until I have my insurance adjuster down there, as well as someone from FEMA to kind of look things over, because my concern is just the safety of people getting on there.
Okay. So it could be some time before the sand itself is open?
I would predict the sand is not going to be done until March or April.
Oh, right, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you have a large number or a large propensity of storms in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And doing the sand now and then having it displaced again because you have another nor'easter coming through just doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, typically we do the sand in April, toward the end of April.
Okay.
Can you still operate, or is it more?
I've been at the high school track up until now.
Okay.
The park itself is open, by the way.
The park's open now?
Yeah, the park is open. We opened the park.
I think we were last there last Wednesday, and Frank sent us away, so...
Right, it was still...
We can be back in the
We had a
park
lot
now.
of trees still that were being picked up.
Okay, we're pleased with that. That high school's been understanding, but I didn't want to push my, luck with them. So also then, it seems like it's a long way off, but once the beach has been re-levelled and regraded, my very enthusiastic boot campers asked me to volunteer them for any kind of ancillary clean-up that would be safe for them and the kids to do. So
Sure.
okay, so but it seems like, I thought that was in a couple of weeks' time, but it seems like that would be in spring.
Yeah,
So I'll try and keep their enthusiasm up until then.
As far as cleanup, again, you're going to be cleaning up the surface. 3 feet down or 4 feet down. There's a lot of other,
Yeah, I think
stuff.
when we communicated, it sounded like it would be something that we do after you've actually regraded the beach, ready for summer now, I suppose.
Well, it'll be in the springtime. It'll be early spring.
But just to, reiterate that we're here as a resource, and I'm sure
we'll call on you. Right now we have
to.
Boy Scouts. We have Boy Scouts lined up that want to do something. We had the Girl Scouts asked us if they could do something. You guys are asking us, and I know the Friends of Rydtown Park have been looking around there as well. So more volunteers we can get, the better, because I think it's going to need a lot of TLC.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Please, Bill.
As the Assistant Director for Park Development, I'm concerned about the groups such as the boot camps for the beach, which generate income for the park, and obviously they're a good match to what the park's resources are. And I'm happy to hear that the park is now open again. Some of you may know that there's a turkey run that goes on every year. The City of Rye starts at Rye Recreation, goes through the pool parking lot of Playland, and then comes through the park at the north end, and then comes out through the parking lot. Now, as of this morning when I was there, that whole area is still all blocked off. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Playland part, but the Rydtown Park part, you can't there's a whole bunch of barricades up there unless they were removed today.
No, they'll be removed. I know we opened up the parking lot. I thought that that was equipment that was removed. That equipment was actually put there by Playland and not by us.
Well, yeah, some of it goes right up to the edge of the park, right by the sign where the entrance is. So that obviously, if they're going to have the race, they're going to need to have that removed. And as far as other groups that are coming in, we don't have many groups in the wintertime, but there are a few coming in. I don't think any of them really use the beach other than the boot camp, but I think certainly if the Scouts can be of help, I know that we have a company that does the leaf collection, and they do the snow removal when necessary. As far as the sort of the other kind of branches and things like that, there might be some possibilities that volunteers would be able to come in. For example, if you're going to be using the park, and there's even just having a couple rakes, you wouldn't need a leaf blower or anything, just to clear out some areas that are, it's not serious litter, but it's stuff that just could be cleaned up. So I would urge the boot camp people or any other group that wants to use the park to volunteer to help out with that sort of thing. Yeah. And I think everybody would appreciate it.
Well, could you coordinate that effort, Bill?
I'll do as best I can, yeah.
Beautiful, great. Excellent. Thank you.
And I just want to alert you that the contractor is scheduled to come in the Monday after Thanksgiving to begin the leaf cleanup, and that leaf cleanup will actually take care of a lot of the debris at the same time.
Beautiful. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for your comments. I will make the boot camp before the summer season starts. Financial report. So, I'm always worried, we're right now, just for the public at home, through October, we're $62,000 to the good, but I don't expect us to finish the year in the positive. I mean...
Do you want this?
Do you have... Okay.
Bishop, in these numbers, is there any sandy stuff in here?
No, there's no sandy stuff. I shouldn't say that.
Then don't say it.
Hang on a second. No, there is not. Next month there will be. We did hire a couple of seasonal people back to help us with some of the emergency cleanup down there. So we have, I don't know, I'm going to say 60, 70 hours worth of work.
Can we separate that? I mean, I don't know,
Should be a
Joe.
separate-
I'd like to
should
really
be a
keep that
separate-
separated because it really poorly reflects on the budget. It's not what we...
That makes a lot of sense, yes.
Well, I've isolated these costs
I know, but-
as FEMA reimbursable costs.
Maybe we should have a
Different
separate, a special...
line items,
It does
whatever
special
it is.
budget, if you will, or
Exactly.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, obviously, the staff's worked very hard. We've worked very hard to minimize the cost to the town, and so we don't want to have the Hurricane Sandy, hide or obfuscate all that hard work.
Yeah, because it'll also make it difficult for us to do the next year's budget because
Exactly.
yeah, we should separate those numbers out.
Well, the good thing about this is that this is through October 31st.
Right.
Well,
It's
actually
just
for
there.
31st, but I don't know
2
when.
days, right.
Obviously, 2 days, and when the costs were actually incurred.
Right.
But there should be separate line items, whether it be salaries or
Yep.
overtime, everything that to be delineated between operational and actually capital
Yeah,
expenditures.
we are doing that.
Good. Any questions on the financials?
Well, I still think it's, until the very end,
Right.
there's still big categories,
Exactly.
unemployment insurance,
Yep.
it's not going to be the case, and
Yep.
the professional fees, so we
Yep.
still don't know what the bottom line is.
Great. Do we have any correspondence requests, Bishop?
No. You did skip over the weather metrics. I don't know if you want to look at it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But,
I know Mr. Arcaro's probably spent a lot of time on that. How was our weather this year, Mr. Arcaro? Or did you do this, Mr. Markey? Who did this? Is this you, Bishop? Or?
no, this is Greg.
All right, Mr. Arcaro, you want to make a presentation?
There you go. You still remember them, right?
Right in front of my mind. Just two things I think arose. One is the estimate from last year came about 2% from what we actually had this year. So from the income side, it's strictly from the income side. So I think the weather metric is a helpful tool for us, along with the other approaches in parallel. The other thing I think is important to note is the holiday. You'll notice in 2012 our holidays dropped down from 12 to 9 because July 4th was in the middle of the week, not at the end of the week. That had a significant, that was on the second line there. That had an influence on our average daily income during that period tremendously. And we'll have that again next year. Then the year after that, finally, we'll swing back. It'll be part of a long weekend. So the weather metric is still a pretty good predictor of income. And again, I think it starts with Terry and staff kind of identifying what the weather is that day and keeping track of the income. The rest is a whole bunch of Excel boxes, but it really starts with the data. But I think it is a helpful tool for us to help in estimating income.
Thank you. It seems to me, looking at this, obviously, and we've discussed this in the past, it's particularly important to get good weather on the weekends and the holidays.
Absolutely. Huge.
So, for example, just for the people at home, a sunny day, Monday to Friday, our average take was $5,200. On a Saturday or Sunday, that went up to $12,800.
Right.
And on a holiday, that was $16,600. So we really, when we're praying to God, Goldie, we also want to make sure that God takes care of us on the weekends and holidays. Great. Well, listen, thank you so much for the work. You guys are making this look almost automatic. And I think, we're all anxious to get ready for Thanksgiving. I know I'd like to just say that I've heard very good things about the hard work that Mayor Pilla and Mayor Feinstein did throughout this storm. I want to thank you for all that hard work.
Thank you.
County Executive Astorino as well had a good meeting yesterday morning. One of the things, as long as we have a little bit of free time, here at the Rye Town, our objective is really just to stay out of the way as much as possible for you. But as a second responder, one of the things, when we have some time, I'd love to sit down and talk with you, see if there's some things we can do to help, like Crawford Park. We might want to think about a shelter. And when I listened to the boot camp in terms of volunteers. One of the things that some of the other communities, I don't know if you guys do, is have basically a, what do you call it, the CERT team, is it, Dennis, where basically, when an emergency occurs, you have a volunteer team that kicks into place. I don't know if you guys have those.
Well, actually, I just wrote an article for the Westmorners. I don't know if you saw it. And it's something that we're creating. I'm going to call it a caring community committee, which is, we did have people who volunteered and did different things, checked on elderly and the like, and even delivered.
Did you have this up before the storm?
No,
right.
No. But we now have a chair of it going forward, and we have people who've already volunteered. But you had a lot of people who did come to the forefront and did volunteer. It was a little bit makeshift, so to speak, but because we've never had anything of this magnitude. But we are going to have what we call our caring committee, which is to really kick in, and I've already gotten some names, and I have a chair already lined up, thought of.
Because I was up in North Castle, I don't know, Dennis, if you have this set up in the village of Portchester already, pre-storm, but they're like in North Castle and I guess Yorktown. We heard at the meeting the other day. And I guess they have an emergency response team, generally held up by the police department, I guess.
Oh, are you talking about something?
Emergency Operations Center?
No, that's different.
Yeah,
that was 4 days before the storm. We were meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a whole manual.
Do you have shelters?
We have a manual, and it consists of the head of the DPW, the police, fire, village administrator, myself. We started meeting a Thursday before the storm, and there are protocols that we go through. And that starts days in advance.
Right.
Days in advance of Irene. We were already meeting. We were already in conference calls with the county. Really, we started our conference calls with the county, I think, on Thursday.
Right, they opened the OC beforehand.
And there are protocols, for example, before the storm, the weekend before the storm, we all had our staffs working overtime, at least DPW, clean all the catch basins are cleared, as many leaves were picked up. I mean, that's all, I thought that starts way before a storm. And there's manuals and events, and that goes through the storm. In fact, we just debriefed, the whole team just met yesterday to talk about what we can improve. I thought you were talking about something different. Every community is required to have an emergency operations committee in EOC.
Pre-plan.
EOC, right.
Yeah, that started days before.
Right.
And for us, we didn't disband our EOC till about a week and a half after the storm. We were meeting. Because we had 3 conference calls a day. All the municipalities was once a day, and with Con Ed twice, right, Benny? We were on all these calls.
Started hanging up
3
after a
times
while.
a day we had conference calls. I mean, there's a whole protocol that goes on. But the other thing that we're now dealing with is a caring committee, which is a committee to deal with making sure we check on the elderly, to make sure that we check on people, to make sure that if people need to be driven places or whatever. So that's
So as Mayor Feinstein pointed out, Mr. Supervisor, you're talking about really 2 separate things, and one of them really relates to Rydtown Park, I think.
Right.
The EOC is really an internal function of the different emergency services unit that act in a coordinated manner before, during, and after. It's recovery, response, recovery, and restoration, the 3 R's, right? But the latter thing you're talking about is some places use CERT teams, community emergency response teams. In Portchester, while we don't have one formally established at present, we are fortunate to have a community member, Mr. Gene Ciccarelli, who actually is a deputy chief. He's a 3-star chief from the Port Authority Police Department, who previously came forward seeking to establish that. So we may or may not go forward with that. I'm speaking with the village manager about that. But one of the remarks I wanted to make in my comments was to ask about what type of emergency preparation procedures we have for the beach in particular, because that is a really vulnerable asset to nor'easters and weather threats. And are there things in terms of, mobilization of assets, moving them to higher ground or whatever, or shoring up the tunnels and things like that, from a lessons learned department that we might want to formalize in the operations of your activities?
And it should be formalized. There should be an emergency, actually a manual. We have a manual where you go through 4 days before a storm, 3 days before, too, and it's different depending upon whether it's a hurricane, whatever it is, different type of an event. And we actually go through this and check off things that are done.
Sure, and that is a great point, Mayor Feinstein, Mayor Pilla. At this point, I don't think we have any. Remember, during the winter, we don't really have any staff.
Right.
And so we should put in place a manual coordinated, obviously, with Rice City, so that in the summer we probably should have some procedures in place, and we should have, and then obviously Rice City should have to, I would presume would pick it up, or we would bring staff back into play.
When you shut down for the season, you're probably batting down the hatches in general, right?
That's what I wanted to get in, is that, the normal shutdown procedure, for example, you saw the boarded up tunnel there.
Yeah, exactly.
What you didn't see was 6 feet below that.
Yeah.
We had a whole pile of sandbags there because we normally would have sandbags every season,
That's good.
to prevent that from collapsing. So there are a lot of procedures that we do. We empty out the first aid station to the extent that we can. We empty out the lifeguard shack to the extent that we can. I can't speak for Seaside Johnny's in terms of what they do. But I assure you, they're going to change their process.
Business interruption insurance.
How did they make out with the tiki bar?
Tiki bar, surprisingly enough, they didn't have too much damage. Most of the tiki bar, if you're familiar with it, is raised about 3 feet or 4 feet off of the boardwalk. So they had relatively little damage.
With respect to Playland Beach, did the county experience similar sand movement that we did? So maybe it would be really good if we coordinate with the county, if they have engineers done assessments on their walls and the beach replenishment project, maybe we should piggyback on whatever they do. So it would be, obviously we don't have the staffing ability that the county does, so we should take advantage of having
it's an excellent idea, and we've already contacted Playland in terms of trying to find an engineer to re-engineer our beach, because they did it 2 or 3 years ago. And we'd love to be able to get that same kind of professional help.
There's such a thing as a beach engineer. There are? Beach engineers?
Oh, yeah.
I went to the wrong school then.
And if we're lucky and the winds blow right, when they add sand, it might blow our way.
And the only other thing I would mention is we do have a procedures manual for what we call summertime emergencies, et cetera. That's reviewed every season between our safety guy, Joe Nito, Mark Casada, in terms of the lifeguards, and Fred Gioffre. So they are working hand in glove because they have to file that with Westchester County every year. So that part is taken care of. What we don't have is if there were an early hurricane, we don't have a process for that. That we have not seen, because typically the hurricanes are September after we close.
Bill?
Yeah, I was just going to say that in terms of engineering, the one thing that FEMA might be willing to pay for would be a study to see whether it would help to enhance those breakwaters that we have 3 of them. There's one right on Rhinetown Park. There's another one over at Playland, and then there's a third one that kind of goes sideways for part of that. And it may be, they certainly have plenty of information about the whole tide flow and movements, so there may be some enhancements that might be done that would cut down on some of that. If the water just comes racing down from north to south, and we saw what happened at the south end where it marked out that whole hole. And so I would say that would be a worthwhile thing. Otherwise, we're going to be constantly just putting in more sand all the time because it's just going to keep going away.
Well, good. Let's get that beach engineer in. Thank you. Well, look, thanks, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays for everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Healthy, I apologize. Healthy, happy. Thank you.
Healthy, you'll be happy.
Healthy out of everything. That's right.
Healthy, happy Thanksgiving. Can I get a motion to bring the meeting to a close? Second?
Thank God for everything.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks so much.
Who was the second?
Healthy, happy Thanksgiving.
Who was the second?
Doesn't matter.
We only allow to do the analysis.